Girls Can't Play. Can One Brave Teenager Prove Everyone Wrong? By Rebecca Burns. I shoved my hand into the baseball mitt, which was buttery soft and worn at the seams. It had been my pop's, and it was too big for me. Mitts should fit snug on your hand, but mine would plop to the ground if I didn't spread or grip my fingers. It didn't matter, though. I could still catch just fine with it. I loved the feel of a fastball smacking into my palm. Pop used to practice with me every night after he came home from the bottling plant on Fort Street. But then one day he came home looking all hangdog and headed straight to the kitchen table, shoulders slumped. I waited in the doorway, mitt clutched in my hands, until my mother shooed me out of the room and shut the door. When I pressed my ear up against the thin wall, I was able to make out pieces of what they were saying, the worst piece being that my father had lost his job. We didn't practice any more after that, and a few weeks later, Pop hopped a train out of town. He'd have better luck looking for work elsewhere. The Great Depression had hit Chattanooga and all of Tennessee hard. Thinking about that, I gave my gloved palm a soft punch. "That a boy!" came a voice from the lot next door. Timmy Oglethorpe and his friends were playing ball. It had been so long since I'd caught a ball, and my right arm practically itched. I stretched my fingers wide inside the glove and wandered out our back door. "Need an outfielder?" I called over. Timmy shaded his eyes and scowled. "You mean you?" "Why not?" I crossed my arms, hugging the mitt to my chest. "I'm a darn good catcher." "Nah, girls can't play baseball," one of Timmy's friends said with a laugh. They turned their attention back to their game. I pulled the glove off my hand and stomped back inside, shivering less at the late afternoon chill than at the nerve of them. April 1st, 1931. A real April Fool's joke on us in Chattanooga, as torrents of rain flooded down and the big baseball game that had been scheduled was canceled. The Lookouts were supposed to play the New York Yankees. Just the chance to see our local team battle major leaguers would have given our city a little extra pep. But this game was even more special, and it had nothing to do with the Yankees. The big news was that the Lookouts had a girl pitcher. Thankfully, the skies cleared, and the game was rescheduled for Thursday. I felt like just about the luckiest gal in the world as I headed down O'Neill Street toward Engle Stadium, ticket clutched in my hand. Of course, it was sheer luck that I had a ticket to the game. Since Pop left, my mother had been pinching her pennies even tighter. There was barely need to rinse out jars when they emptied. Every last lick of peanut butter or jelly or mustard had already been scraped out. We weren't buying anything pricey from the grocer anymore, and when you can't afford bacon, you definitely can't afford to buy baseball tickets. But after the April Fool's game got rained out, Mr. Oglethorpe couldn't afford to miss work to see it played the next day. Mrs. Oglethorpe came over to ask if we had use for a ticket. Before anyone could suggest that my little brother go, I blurted, "Could I take the ticket?" "You read the papers, right? The Lookouts have hired a girl to pitch, Jackie Mitchell. Can you believe it? She has real moxie." Mrs. Oglethorpe tisked, either at my language or the thought of a girl pitching. "I can't imagine how that little stunt will turn out." "It's not a stunt. Jackie's a crackerjack pitcher. She's trained with some greats, and Mr. Engel signed her to a contract to play for the Lookouts." That didn't convince Mrs. Oglethorpe, but she did give me the ticket. Halfway to the stadium, I heard a familiar voice calling after me. "Hazel, I heard you've got her extra ticket." I whirled around to find myself face to face with Timmy Oglethorpe. "Yes, and I am very grateful for it," I said, even though I didn't want to. Timmy fell in step with me. I tried to walk as fast as I could without running, just to make his short legs have to work harder. Unfortunately, he was pretty good at keeping up. "I hope you're ready to see just why you can't play ball with us boys." I shot him a look. "And why is that?" "That girl's gonna make a fool out of herself." "Jackie Mitchell? Nah. With that sinking curveball of hers, she's going to strike him out." He snorted. "You really think a 17-year-old girl pitcher is going to strike out Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth?" I straightened my shoulders. "I really do." "All right, Hazel. Let me wager this. If you're right, then you can play with us after all." I'm going to make you shake on that, just so you can't weasel out of this one after Jackie blows him away." Timmy and I stopped on the sidewalk, and I shook his grimy hand. Then we raced the rest of the distance to join the crowd streaming into the stadium. I didn't doubt that Jackie could do it, but I still found myself wishing real hard, as I held out my ticket to enter, that she would do me, and all of Chattanooga, proud. To get a good view, I had to sit on the very edge of my seat and press my fingertips into the wood, pushing myself to sit up straight and tall as possible. If I craned my neck and the man in front of me bent down to study his program, I could just glimpse the pitcher's mound. But even though my view wasn't perfect, the happy noises from the crowd and the smells of the popcorn and frankfurters were. Next to me, Timmy waved his arms madly to get the attention of a vendor. He hemmed and hawed about whether to spend his nickel on peanuts or Cracker Jack, eventually picking the colorful striped box. "I wonder what I'll get for a prize," he said. I licked my lips and thought about the last time I'd gotten to fish around in a box of Cracker Jack for a baseball card or trinket. I didn't have a nickel. The game would have to be treat enough. I turned away and squinted down at the field. What I saw made me gasp. "What?" Timmy sprayed a mouthful of molasses and crumbs dangerously close to my face. I pointed at the field where a tall man and a round man, both in unmistakable Yankee pinstripes, were warming up. "That's Babe Ruth! And over there, Lou Gehrig." I thought fleetingly about how excited Pop would have been to see these great players. Moments later, I gasped again as the girl of the hour emerged from the field. Her entrance triggered hoots and hollers from the crowd. People jumped up and down like popcorn as they tried to get a better look. Scrambling to my feet, I struggled to get a decent vantage point. Then I spotted her, slim, dwarfed by her baggy baseball uniform. Under a cap with a big Chattanooga C on it, her cropped hair was nearly as short as a boy's. Yet Jackie was all girl, with a pretty smile that she flashed at the roaring crowd as she waved. Flanked by important-looking men, she made her way to the mound to warm up. She paused to pose for the cameras, even pulling out a makeup compact and daintily powdering her nose. That made Timmy go into hysterics. Gehrig and Ruth, along with everyone else, watched as Jackie tested out her fastball. I couldn't read their faces from so far away, but I imagined they were worried, because boy oh boy, could Jackie pitch. Finally, the game started. I stayed at the edge of my seat. The stands grew quiet. The loudest noise in my ears was the sound of Timmy gnawing on his Cracker Jack next to me. First up was Babe Ruth. I peered down at Jackie, standing tall on the mound. How she hadn't melted into a puddle of nerves, standing there and facing the legend, I couldn't understand. I crossed my fingers for her. Jackie wound up her left arm like the crank on an ice cream churn, and then finally let loose with her sinker. Ball. She wound up again and pitched. This time, Ruth swung and missed. The third time, he missed again, and looking huffy, called the umpire over to inspect the ball. Jackie stood on the mound, cool as a cucumber. My heart fluttered. The umpire walked away, and Jackie wound up her slender arm to pitch one more time. I glanced out of the corner of my eye at Timmy. He wasn't eating anymore, just watching the action on the field, slack-jawed. Jackie's fourth pitch painted the outside corner. Strike! The stands erupted. Ruth flung his bat in anger and disgust and then stomped off the field in a snit. I have never been prouder of someone in my whole life than I was of Jackie Mitchell at that moment. Next to me, a shocked Timmy dropped his Cracker Jack box on the sticky stadium floor, spilling popcorn and peanuts along with his misplaced pride. Up next was Lou Gehrig, who swung and missed 3 pitches. He left the field with a little more dignity. The third batter, Tony Lazzari, walked, and then the manager yanked Jackie off the field. Waving, she blew a kiss to the delighted crowd as she was led away, and my heart soared. Triumphant, I turned to Timmy. That a girl. After school the next day, I heard, "Batter up!" echo from the lot next door. I ran to the closet and grabbed my mitt. I slid my fingers in, closing my eyes and picturing Jackie standing tall on the field the day before. I stepped out into the backyard with my shoulders thrown back and